Welcome to I Wrote That, a podcast where we bring authors and industry experts together to talk about all things books and make the journey to authorship just a little bit easier. My name is Larissa Sohan, and I am the CEO of Next Page Publishing, a hybrid publishing house where we help entrepreneurs write books to grow their businesses. In 2021, I published my first sci-fi novel, The Defender, through a hybrid publishing company, and from that experience, I learned exactly what not to do. When I joined with this very big publishing company, I was put in a system that was designed to push out thousands of books a year, and I was just a cog in the wheel. And it was heartbreaking when my first book was published and it was a flop. In that moment, I made it my mission to found a hybrid publishing company that was going to give aspiring authors the experience that they deserve. Now I'm on a mission to help aspiring authors feel like they are in control of the publishing journey and that they are supported by a team of experts who genuinely want the best for them and their books. If you are in the very beginning of your journey, or maybe you have a manuscript that you're finished and you're not sure how to get it out into the world, I encourage you to reach out to us at nextpagepublishing.net. You can schedule your free discovery call and find out how our team of experts can make your journey to being a published author easy, smooth, and successful. Now, without further ado, let's get on to our next amazing guest and make your journey to authorship a little less complicated. In today's solo episode, I want to talk about understanding your why. And I think this is a really important topic to actually have as a solo episode because the why is so personal. No one else is ever going to be able to tell you what your why is or should be because they have never walked in your path. They don't understand what it is that's brought you to this spot in your journey. And I'm going to talk about the why behind my first book, The Defender, because I didn't understand the why when I wrote the book. I actually didn't understand the why until I was on a podcast talking about the book almost 2 years later, that I really understood what that book did for me. And I think if I had understood better from the beginning why I was writing this book, my first book actually happened to be an accident. I didn't mean to write it. I started writing something else. I was working on a mystery game, an escape room game for kids, and it turned, before I knew it, it was 10,000 words long. And I was like, okay, well, this is too long to be a game. I think it's turning into a book. And every word after that was just go with the flow, see what you can do. Wouldn't it be cool to write a book? And I didn't really have that deep root in like, why was I doing this? Like, what was I going to get out of writing this book? What was I hoping to bring into the world? And it was about 2 years later when I was on a podcast, Women Making Waves, Mishaps, Magic, and Mayhem, I believe is the title of that episode, or the title of that show. And I was talking about just what went into my first book. The emotions that I happened to be roiling with at the time of writing it, the feeling of publishing, the intense amounts of imposter syndrome that went into actually publishing it and seeing people holding copies of it in their hands was incredibly overwhelming because I wasn't rooted in my why. I didn't understand. And in this podcast, I shared a lot of details about the moments leading up to accidentally writing that book. I was on disability because I was unable to work due to mental health struggles. I had just had a miscarriage and things were not going great in my life. And when I reflect back on why did I even start writing, it's because I needed an escape. It's because I needed a way to step out of my world and into a new light and explore something different. I think if I had understood the depths of why Alexia existed and why I chose her name and why I chose to put her in a galaxy that was at war and why I chose to give her a best friend that was so lovable and kind and supportive, but unique in his own rights, I would have understood more of what I needed in my actual life. My why for The Defender was so closely linked to what I needed in support and in love and in compassion and growth to where I was in my current life. At the current moment of writing The Defender, I was heavily, heavily depressed. Like I couldn't work, I could barely parent, I wasn't cooking, I wasn't cleaning, I wasn't running anymore. My friendships were failing because I just couldn't keep up with them. And in writing Rickert and Vila in a way that they showed up for Alexia, and she was able to accept their help. She was what I needed her to be, what I needed to be in my daily life. And again, understanding all of this now and seeing just how important my book was in my life, for my mental health, for my relationships, I think I would have done a better job at, well, writing the book for one thing, because I could have explored further and I could have done better at marketing it. Now that I understand what that book does for me, I am killer at marketing that book. In fact, I'm just about to take it down and relaunch it all over again because I want a clean slate with that book, because I understand it so much better. I understand why it exists in this world. I understand what it does for me, but I also understand what it does for readers, because I've had readers tell me, oh, this was such an enjoyable, quick read. And it's a light read, and it's easy, and it's fast paced, and it has tons of cliffhangers. Every chapter, my husband, he hates me as a writer because every chapter pretty much ends on a cliffhanger, and it drives him nuts because he always wants more, which is exactly what I want from my readers. But I understand not only what I get out of my book, but what my readers are going to get out of my book. And that's so, so important when it comes to writing. Now, I want to flip the script a little bit and talk about the book that I'm actually working on right now. Now, the book I'm currently working on at the moment is a self-help, self-development, actualization, visualization, parenting book for how do we manage those first years of 0 to 7. And I've been working on this book for 2 years now. And originally it started out as a memoir. It was just a collection of stories that had happened to me over my, last 5 years as a parent. And I just wanted to share them with the world. Writing was a way for me to process what was happening to me because I understood what I wanted from the book. I just wanted to process what I was feeling with. I'd come out of therapy and I'd go write in my book, or sometimes I'd bring a chapter to therapy and say, okay, this is what I'm working on. Can we talk about this topic today? And I would apply my psychology trainings, my studies into developmental psychology. And the book was never really meant to be anything more than just a collection of my musings, if you will. And I recently sat down about a couple weeks ago, actually, because I felt like I was losing touch with what that book was supposed to be. What was the purpose of that book? What was it supposed to do for the world? Because every chapter I wrote, I knew wholeheartedly that the world needed this message. So I practiced what I preached. I went back to the grassroots. I'm 25,000 words deep into this book, and it's about halfway through, I'd say. And I was still questioning, what is the why for this book? What is the point of writing this book? Who is this book for? And because I didn't have those answers in my nonfiction book, I was really struggling with, what do I include as content? What stories do I share? Which lessons do I bring about so that my audience has the same aha moments that I did as I lived them? And so I went back to the grassroots. I pulled up my own program. Talk about practice what you preach. I pulled up my own program. I assigned myself as a new student in the program. And I started stepping through who was my ideal reader, who was going to pick up this book and have those aha moments with me. What were they currently struggling with? Why would they even want something like this in their life? And then I switched gears again, and I asked myself, who am I to this book? Originally, when I started writing, I was just writing for myself. I just wanted to process some emotions and some feelings. But now that I understand that I'm writing for others, the vision of myself has to change. Who am I to be writing about this topic? Well, I'm a psychology student. I have struggled with mental health for a long time. I've been to a lot of therapy, and I am a mother. And once I understood, like, why would people listen to me? Again, coming back to what is the why would people listen to me? Because, well, I'm very qualified to talk about this topic, and everything that I'm saying comes from lived experience and learned education. And so I got clear on why would people listen to me. I got clear on why I wanted to write it. This is so far outside my niche. I don't specialize in helping mothers. I don't specialize in helping parents communicate with their children. And I don't specialize with helping women treat that inner child the way that inner child needs to be treated. I don't specialize in that. And yet I knew there was a why behind this book. I knew that even if I didn't specialize it, my message is incredibly profound. And it could help a lot of people if I find them and if I pitch to them the right way and I give them the space to exist as they are. And that was when I was going through my program and laying out the fundamentals, creating my book's mission statement, which is the ultimate why for my book. What are the readers going to get out of my book? I started to understand what content needed to go into the book. I started to understand what flow my book needed to take. How was I going to reinforce the messages in my book? How was I going to make it? Was I going to put it in chronological order? Like, what did my readers need? Why was this book existing? And now that I have that clarity, I am so much more confident in that book and in the message and the way that book is going to show up in the world and how it's going to help. And the reason I share this story is because this story paired with the story of The Defender, they are very different whys. The Defender was to help me heal and process and escape for a little bit so that I could come back with a fresh light and feel like I was in control. If I could write about it in Alexia, then surely I could live it. I could embody it. If she had to heal because she was depressed and she was anxious and she was unhappy, and I put her in an alien planet and kicked the shit out of her, surely I could do it in normal world. Surely I could heal the way she did. I could find the confidence that she had at the end of the book. If she could do it, I could do it. But with this second book, the nonfiction book, my why is very different. It's actually not all about me. Sure, there is a why because I want to have the feeling of success in helping other people. I want to open up the doors to a community of mothers that just feel like they can show up as they are and be accepted for who they are with room for growth. I want to give women the space to come in, air their dirty laundry, and leave with the mentality of like, I can do more. I can learn from this. This mistake doesn't define me. And so my whys for the two books and the two genres and the two niches are wildly different. And I come at my writing differently because of it. I show up differently. With my sci-fi book, I am just an avid writer who likes to write in fiction and tell stories. In my nonfiction book, I am a mother who wants to give women the power to show up as they are, exist as they are, with the acceptance that they can change if they want to, if that's something they want for themselves. Those two people are entirely different. And if I'm not clear, if I go into my self-help book with the mindset of I just want to tell a good story, I'm not aiming for connection, I'm not aiming to change this person's world, I'm not changing their mind, I'm not giving them new tools, then it's not going to be a very good book. You have to understand what your why is because it will motivate you to write the right things. It will motivate you to tell the stories that need to be told in a way that's going to connect with your audience. Your why is everything. And your why from book to book, project to project, client to client might be different, but you need to understand what that why is. If you want to show up with your whole self, you want to be happy with what the outcome is, and you want to feel pride in the work that you've put into it. So I encourage you to step back if you're in the middle of a writing project, if you're thinking about starting a writing project, or you already have a project that's been written and maybe published. Step back and ask yourself, why does that book exist? Why would people read it? And why did I write it? I encourage you to do that because the answers, like mine were, can be quite illuminating. Happy writing, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of I Wrote That. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to our show so you don't miss any of our upcoming guests. And if this has led you to some inspiration to want to get started on your own authorship journey, whether you just have an idea or you have a manuscript that you're ready to publish, reach out to us at nextpagepublishing.net, and we will match you up with our team of experts to make the journey simple, easy, and smooth.